Yeah, I feel bad still that look, my brother. First of all, that's that part. Cause they ain't even have to happen. Cause Pac was the type of nigga that will box you. See, but considering who that guy is to Puffy and to Keefe D, for it not to be addressed is weird.
There has finally been an arrest. Does that bring you any kind of relief, or is it just more fury? What's your reaction to that?
I had a tough day that day. I felt like, sure, okay, they've arrested someone that was in the car. This person has been saying that they were in the car that night. I want to know who called the hit. That will bring me peace.
A man knows what a man needs.
It looks like we finally got some updates on the Tupac murder case, and law enforcement sources are buzzing with the news that Keefe D might have actually spilled the tea on none other than Diddy and his alleged involvement in Pac's. And now Tupac's own brother, Mopreme Shakur, has decided to break his silence on these reports. And according to Mopreme, there's definitely some smoke to the fire that Diddy could be facing arrest for his alleged role in the murder. But that's not all. The Shakur family is apparently convinced that Jada Pinkett Smith might be hiding some serious secrets about Tupac. So we all know Jada has been very vocal about her deep connection to Tupac, and she often claimed that losing him was one of the most devastating moments of her life. But here's the kicker. If Jada's love for Pac is so deep, why did she and Will Smith continue to rub shoulders with Diddy after Tupac's death? I mean, even if they believe that Diddy wasn't the mastermind behind the murder, it's no secret that Tupac couldn't stand Diddy. So why did Jada and Will continue to associate with the man Pac despised? Anyway, Mopreme Shakur is now raising eyebrows with his latest comments, suggesting that something just doesn't add up. He hinted that the police might be covering something up, especially since Keefe D was arrested based on his interviews. And yet the feds seem to have turned a blind eye to Keefe's bombshell claims that Diddy supposedly ordered the hit on Pac. But it's also possible that the feds are quietly building a case against Diddy, because the timing of Keefe's and Diddy's recent legal troubles is very interesting. So could Diddy actually be charged with Tupac's murder? And what exactly did Mopreme Shakur have to say about the alleged Diddy-Jada Pinkett connection? Let's break it down.
I haven't heard anything about Puffy from the prosecutor's office, even though Keefe D implicates him on these videos that they claim they're using to indict him.
So in case you're out of the loop on Tupac's case, let me fill you in real quick. Last September, after a jaw-dropping 27 years, the police finally made a breakthrough and arrested Keefe D, a former Southside Crips member, linking him to the murder of Tupac Shakur. But Tupac's family isn't popping any champagne bottles yet. His brother Mopreme and sister Sequia spoke out shortly after Keefe's arrest, and they're not convinced that this is the silver bullet everyone's been waiting for. In fact, they feel something is fishy about this sudden move. Mopreme even hinted at a long-standing rumor that the LAPD might have been involved in a cover-up of Tupac's. He spilled that the police only reached out to the family after he started making noise about the shady dealings behind the scenes.
After I did the CNN interview,
Yeah.
they did contact us. Maybe out of guilt, I don't know. But we will see. The guy who contacted us has already retired.
As for Tupac's sister Sequia, she pointed out that the Shakur family knows better than to trust the legal system because law enforcement and the feds have never been on their side.
It seems to be a loophole that Tupac's death continues to fall in. But as Shakurs, we're kind of used to not being able to trust the legal systems to protect us in that way.
But wait, there's more tea. After reports went viral suggesting Diddy might be next in line for his alleged involvement in Tupac's, Mopreme spilled even more to Hype News, saying there are definitely more people who need to be investigated. Mopreme said he's convinced Keefe D had accomplices, and he stressed that the real issue, the motive behind Tupac's, won't be uncovered just by Keefe's arrest. And when asked about the long-standing theory that someone ordered the hit on Tupac, the interviewer was hesitant to drop names. But it was pretty clear that they were talking about Diddy. And Mopreme didn't shy away. He said he's still waiting for the police to tackle this issue head-on. He implied that Keefe had mentioned Diddy multiple times in his interviews, yet the cops seemed to conveniently ignore those parts.
Is that your kind of like suspicion of like there was an ultimately hit ordered on Pac?
Well, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have my freedom. I consume media. I consume social media a little bit. You know, I've seen interviews and these interviews that they speak of, that they used to land this indictment on this dude, I've seen him, and he's saying things in these interviews that I got questions about.
Correct.
And he mentions certain people that are, you know, maybe accomplices.
Mopreme also suggested that Keefe's arrest means the police are trying to pin the blame on someone. But here's the kicker. The real question is if they'll actually hold everyone accountable, including the big fish who allegedly ordered the hit on Tupac.
You know, they're making someone accountable. Now, are they going to make everyone that he's talking about, that they're using to drop this indictment, accountable?
The interviewer finally dropped the bomb and asked Mopreme straight up about Diddy's alleged connection to Tupac. And Mopreme didn't hold back, saying it's now up to law enforcement to investigate everyone Keefe mentioned in his interviews. And yes, that includes Diddy.
And Keefe D has gone on record to express that he felt that Diddy was somewhat a part of it in XYZ. You at least hearing that, how does that make you feel? And if we later find out there might be some truth to that, like what is your takeaway from it? Just hearing that, that rumor floating around.
I don't have to do anything. This individual mentioned dude's name, okay? Law enforcement has a job to do. Will they do it?
But Mopreme didn't sound too optimistic about the police actually going after Diddy. So we'll have to wait and see if Diddy gets dragged into Keefe's trial. Now, Keefe has reportedly dropped Diddy's name in interviews about Tupac's even as recently as last July, blaming him for destroying the death row empire. Keefe also shared his regrets about ever getting involved with Diddy and said, if I wouldn't have ever met him, I wouldn't have ever been involved in this BS. Now, aside from Keefe, the only other living witness to Tupac's is former Death Row CEO Suge Knight. But Suge recently made it clear that he has no intentions of testifying against Keefe. But it's also worth pointing out that Keefe D isn't the only person who implicated Diddy in Tupac's. The first time Diddy's name came up in connection with Tupac's death was way back in 2006. This happened when Biggie Smalls' case was reopened after his mother, Valletta Wallace, filed a lawsuit against the LAPD. Valletta claimed the police had covered up the truth about her son's death, and the investigation was handed over to LAPD detective Greg Kading, who made some jaw-dropping discoveries, including evidence that implicated Diddy. Detective Kading was convinced that there was a link between Biggie and Tupac's murder and found strong evidence connecting both cases. After dedicating 3 years to his investigation, Detective Kading concluded that Diddy had allegedly put out a $1 million contract to Tupac and Suge Knight. He supposedly enlisted Keefe D to get the job done, something Keefe later confirmed to investigators.
Bolstering Keefe D's claim was an informant in 1997 who told investigators that Puffy had hired the Southside Crips to kill both Suge and Tupac, and that the Crip who was jumped at the MGM was in the group that had done the hit, and that they originally were going to do it at Suge's Vegas nightclub, but then decided to do it right away instead of waiting. This was exactly the same story that Keefe D told us a decade later.
Kading also argued that the theory suggesting Suge Knight ordered Tupac's murder doesn't add up, because according to him, Suge's associate Alton Bunty McDonald's actually chased the white Cadillac carrying Tupac, and shortly after, another occurred where Bunty's car got hit as well.
In fact, within the Las Vegas files, there's a document that indicates that Alton McDonald's car had been struck by a bullet that night. As a result, Alton McDonald gives up the chase and the white Cadillac disappears into the night. This also counters the claim that Suge had set up the Tupac. Why would Suge's main enforcer chase after the suspect's vehicle and exchange if they're all part of the same conspiracy.
So if Suge didn't order the hit on Tupac, that narrows it down to just one other person who had a clear motive to get rid of Pac.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll have a 90 motherfucker walk down the street and said, Suge Knight Tupac. When everybody know off the top, I ain't the nigga killed Tupac, I'm the nigga protected Tupac.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Puffy can give him a star, and every rat in the world said he didn't want Tupac.
Now here's another bombshell. Phil Carson, an ex-FBI agent who worked on Tupac's case, recently told the Daily Mail that Keefe D has most likely already snitched on Diddy, and it's only a matter of time before Diddy gets pulled into this case. Carson said, it's not like the olden days of the Italian mafia where everybody kept their mouth shut. As soon as somebody has handcuffs on them, they'll sell out their own mom now. Keefe's arrested, and that's a game changer because they have something over him, and that's when he may start spilling his guts. So who's to say that Keefe didn't start throwing stuff out there that he hasn't talked about before to potentially save his ASS? And while Carson said that this doesn't necessarily mean the feds raided Diddy's house because Keefe D snitched, he also pointed out that it would be interesting to know where that evidence came from that allowed the feds to get search warrants for 3 of Diddy's properties in LA, Miami, and New York. And the New York raid was apparently kept under wraps, with the feds telling the media to only cover the ones in LA and Miami. And according to Agent Carson, this means the feds have something of substance on Diddy. And now Mopreme Shakur has addressed these allegations in a recent video with The Art of Dialogue, again pointing out that it makes no sense the feds are only going after Keefe D and not the man Keefe claimed ordered Pac's.
I know a lot of brothers I know in LA that if they were doing business with a group of brothers and one of them, well, he wasn't then, but now, you know, he's a billionaire, right? That's what he said. He's a billionaire, right? He got bread. And I don't see that individual not paying for it in some kind of way. What was the incentive? You know, what was the incentive? Was the incentive just revenge, or was the incentive for that supposed money that Puffy supposedly put up? Which one was the incentive? That's what I guess they're going to figure out in court.
We're going to see, man, because I agree with you. If they taking this case serious, then they got to interview Puffy. I mean, you got to.
I mean, that's Puffy's homie. You know what I mean? They have a relationship. They're friendly. They know each other. So it's very much feasible. You know, and if law enforcement choose to ignore that, that's something to look at. It was a setup. It was a plot to murder my brother. I feel about it. I don't know that, but I ain't got no love for none of them. You know, straight up. It sounds like a typical plot. See, but considering who that guy is to Puffy and to Keefe D, for it not to be addressed is weird. We will see.
Now, as for those Jada Pinkett rumors, the Shakur family is apparently suspicious of the way Jada obsessively talks about Tupac in interviews, and yet it seems her husband stayed close to Diddy all these years. You have to admit that some things are not adding up here, and some fans are speculating that Jada knows way more than she's letting on.
I want to know who called the hit. That will bring me peace.
So this was Jada's reaction to Keefe D's arrest, and a lot of fans thought it was pretty bizarre how she made it all about herself. One fan said, look how she smiles when she talks about calling a hit of the man she loved her whole life. And someone else added, girl please, your husband's boo Sean Combs called the hit. But let me hear your thoughts on all this. Do you believe there's a chance that Diddy could be charged with ordering Tupac's? And what do you make of those Jada Pinkett rumors? Could she be hiding something about Diddy's alleged involvement? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to check out this next video.